or even that philosophy?
So for me, this is, even though this doesn't work 100% of the time, but I always want to be the type of coach where you make a mistake and you don't look at me. So you know what I mean? The kids that
Mm-hmm.
make a mistake and I want to
Mm-hmm.
be that type of coach where they have that freedom on the court. And
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't work out 100%. Yeah, you know what I mean? If you miss 10 shots in a row, you know what I mean? You got to, like, it's not going to, but I mean, in a perfect world, that's my mentality.
Mm-hmm.
And I am because I'm one of the people that embrace where we're at. A lot of people say, "Oh, why they shoot so many threes and then they do all this?" Like, but I embrace where we're at, and I just try to do the best to make the kids understand what point of the game we're at right now. So, to answer your question, we have ultimate freedom on. If I'm your coach, and especially if I know you work, like you just said when you said that you take all those shots, so you never feel like it's a bad shot because you work on those shots. If I know that you work on your game like that, I will never get mad. You have all day. I'm talking regular three, college three, NBA three. Like you can pull from. All I ask is 100% effort and play hard on defense. And that's it. And then on offense, you have freedom to do what you got to do and to showcase your skills. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to be a cone guy or a cone girl. You know what I mean? You're not just doing like all that stuff you're practicing and working out and all that stuff. I want you to try in game.
Welcome to Q's Health and Wellness Podcast, your source for living a healthier lifestyle and developing a better mind, body, and soul. Through guidance, tips, and stories of highly successful fitness gurus, athletes, and individuals who are passionate about enhancing all aspects of life, we provide you with the tools to help you take your lifestyle to another level. And now your host, Quinn Mitchell.
Welcome to Q's Health and Wellness Podcast. This is your host, Quinn Mitchell, and today I have a very special guest. Kevin is a mentor, a coach, and he's also in the health and fitness specialist at Exos. How you doing today?
I'm doing good.
So for people that's not familiar with you, would you mind giving a brief introduction about yourself?
All right, so I've been in health and fitness pretty much my whole life because I've been into basketball. So I've always been into working out and doing all that type of stuff. And pretty much my goal is to be a full-time basketball coach, whether it's collegiately or in the NBA or even higher. And I just always was into, like I said, like fitness for me started out always wanting to be better on the basketball court. So that's how I always like looked at fitness, and it always stuck with me since then. And that's pretty much my background. But if you want to know about me, just look for a basketball court and you'll find me. That's where
Definitely. So when did you first get started playing the game?
How, like, probably 8th grade. I want to say 7th, 8th grade, probably like that. Soccer was my first sport, but then it kind of trickled to basketball because everybody was doing it. That was like the new thing. It was I grew up around the and 1 era and all that stuff, street ball and all that stuff. So everybody was getting into that. So that was kind of like the fad. So it was like basketball everywhere.
No, definitely. That's awesome, man. And what you first started playing, right? So were there any challenges or basically, because I know people that play in high school and I know you're a mentor. So do you see any similarities between when you first started playing and people and the kids that play now, but like challenges of trying to balance everything out?
I think right now it's probably harder than when I was growing up because of social media and all this. So social media not only adds distractions, but it adds comparisons too. So you always are constantly comparing yourself to others because you see everybody and you're distracted a lot. So for kids that I coach, I noticed that even during water breaks and timeout, stuff like that, you see a lot of them going to their phones, always wanting to see their phones and check their phones. So it's kind of like you can tell that their mind may not 100% be where they're at right now. And me growing up, the social media was just starting to trickle in. So we really didn't get caught up in that phase. So pretty much we just go outside, play, and it was just basketball. So we didn't have phones to look up, but like we literally just walk to the court when we're just like in our own world. So I definitely feel like it's tougher for the kids nowadays with everything going on where they have to kind of balance school, basketball, and then social media, like everything, comparing themselves, looking at other people and just trying to follow like everybody's lead. So they're kind of caught up in a place where they got to find their own path instead of trying to be like everybody else.
Got you. And is there any advice that you would give to a kid that maybe listening to the podcast that's trying to that's even having trouble balancing everything out?
So for me, this is what worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easier said than done. But for what I would say to kids is kind of give yourself times. So limits on when you look at your phone and look at stuff. So if you want to say at 2 hours a day, an hour a day, whatever limit, just try to give yourself a limit and stick to that limit. Because I feel like you kind of get caught up sometimes where you pick up your phone and you're like, I'm just going to scroll or whatever. And then you see 2 hours later, you're still scrolling. You're like, man, I've really been on my phone for so long. So for them, even parents as well, I would try to give kids limit on when and how much they use their phone and try to stick to that. Because I feel like no matter what, they're going to always look at their phone. It's just that we live in this age. So we just got to appreciate that we live in this social media age. So instead of totally taking, I'm not like one to always do the extreme and take it away and do all that stuff. So for me, it's like little by little. So if you can give them just timetables and just increments throughout the day to look at your phone, I feel like it'll help discipline them more and keep them more focused on what task they're trying to do in the moment.
Got you. And now you being a coach, how important is it really? Because I know kids or even players that may be listening, I found even when I was playing, I found that a lot of kids, they when they work out for the social media. They work out just to post videos and besides actually getting a real workout in. So how important is it really to put in that extra work that you would say that you see in your kids nowadays, that you're coaching?
The funny thing when you say that statement is you can tell as a coach, like now I have an eye for it. You can tell the ones who work on their game and the ones who don't. Like you could just tell it. You just notice the ones. And for them, I think I want to say that 90% of the time it comes from the parents because they're at such a young age and the parents, like kids, you remember when you're a kid, you're not really able to see past today. It's hard for you to look future. You could talk all this, I want to be this, I want to do this, but you're pretty much living in the moment. And for parents that of those kids, they do a great job of seeing in the future and seeing what they can be and what they're going to be and developing it now. So they get them into the training, hours of training, day by day, after practice, before practice, weekends, just always constantly doing that. And they do a good job of creating scenarios and creating different ways for them to not only work on their game outside of practice, but also school and everything. They incorporate it well. So I definitely notice the ones that train, and I appreciate those because they're the ones that come to me like in practice and they'd be like, oh man, I'm so tired. And I'd be like, why are you so tired? Like I literally trained like 2 hours before practice. And after they say that, I kind of trickles me back as a coach. It's like, instead of me getting mad that they get tired, I'm like, okay, I totally understand where they're coming from because they're putting in so much extra hours to get better. And I appreciate that. So I don't want them to feel like me getting on them is a way of me saying don't do that or stop doing that or cut down the time you spend.
So now another question I have for you is, I know that the constant pressure of kids that want to go to that next level, it's always weighing on their back. Because I know when I was playing, because I went to a technical high school where people really don't go to college after that. So my thing was I had to put myself in a position where I had to be extraordinary and stand out everywhere I went. And it was a constant pressure for me mentally because I know if I had a bad game, either my pops was going to say something or my parents. So it was always a constant pressure on me. So do you see kids having that same pressure even when you're coaching, like of them like having even being extra hard on themselves trying to get to that next level?
Yep, I've seen it all too many times. I see it a lot. Like you can, like the funny thing is that I'm not a parent, so I can't really speak on having kids, but I can just see from the outside looking in. And the parents always are coming from a good place, those parents. That put pressure on them because I know where they're thinking. Their mentality is they just want the best. They want them to be at their best and want them to be their best. But I think sometimes it can become detrimental when it's just too much because I've seen kids who cry after missing shots, dude. Like, you know, because, and it's not, I think it's more so, even though they do care, and I don't want to say they don't care, they care about making shots or not turning the ball over, but I think it's the added pressure from the parents of wanting to be successful in front of them and wanting to succeed and stuff like that. So I see that a lot, and it's tough when you it's tough when it becomes like a mental breakdown for them. When it comes to that point, when it hits that breaking point, like as a coach, it's hard because as a coach, you can only do so much because that's not my kid. You know what I mean? So I can only say something to do so, but at the end of the day, it's not my kid. But I try to do my best to guide them. And when I see stuff like that, even though, like I said, I love basketball and all this stuff, I always say it's bigger than basketball. I understand that you're not going to play a sport all your life. That's not what your life is always is going to be defined as. So even though you want to be the best at this, and I want you to be the best at this, understand that there's more to the game than just dribbling, shooting, and missing. Like, nobody cares about you missing this shot 2 years ago. Nobody's going to think about stuff like that, like things like that. So little things like that, when it becomes like detrimental like that to them, to their mental health and stuff like that, that's when I feel like as a coach, I need to step in and kind of say, not necessarily say something, but just help guide them and help let them understand that it's okay to mess up, and it's even though the pressure's on, like, it's okay to be unsuccessful because you learn from your mistakes, you learn from your faults, you learn from stuff like that.
Got you. And the one question that really just popped in my head, because me playing in college, I went to school in Maine. So up there, like the way of basketball is very different. You're in Jersey, so if a Jersey player versus a Maine player is totally two complete different packages, right? So one question I have for you, you being a coach, right? I know a lot of coaches, they harp on good shots and bad shots, right? So me playing, when the way I played in high school, and even when I developed and even when I implemented my training in college, there was really no such, for me, there was no such thing as a bad shot, because every shot I took 100 or even 1,000 times in practice, or or even before going to the gym, or even, you know what I mean? So there was no such thing as really like a bad shot for me. So with you being a coach, I feel like a lot of coaches put pressures on their kids where every time they shoot, they're putting this pressure, thinking it's a good or bad shot. So then the kid themselves start to think, I don't even know if I should even shoot the ball. They start second guessing themselves. So what is your outlook on the good and bad shots, or even that philosophy?
So for me, I always, so this is, even though this doesn't work 100% of the time, but I always want to be the type of coach where you make a mistake and you don't look at me. So, you know what I mean? The kids that make a mistake and I want to be that type of coach where they have that freedom on the court. And it doesn't work out 100%. Yeah, you know what I mean? If you miss 10 shots in a row, you know what I mean? You got to, like, it's not going to, but I mean, in a perfect world, that's my mentality. And I am because I'm one of the people that embrace where we're at. A lot of people say, oh, why they shoot so many threes and then they do all this, like, but I embrace where we're at, and I just try to do the best to make the kids understand what point of the game we're at right now. So to answer your question, we have ultimate freedom on. If I'm your coach, and especially if I know you work, like you just said, when you said that you take all those shots, so you never felt like it's a bad shot because you work on those shots. If I know that you work on your game like that, I will never get mad. You have all day. I'm talking regular three, college three, NBA three. Like, you can pull from. All I ask is 100% effort and play hard on defense. And that's it. And then on offense, you have freedom to do what you got to do and to showcase your skills. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to be a cone guy or a cone girl. You know what I mean? You're not just doing, like, all that stuff you're practicing and working out and all that stuff. I want you to try in games. So you're going to mess up in the beginning. That's a part of it. You're going to mess up. But I don't want you to feel like, okay, I practice in and out between the legs against a cone, I'm scared to do it in the game. No, I want you to try it in the game. If it hits off your leg, do it again. Try it again until you become good at it. So to answer your question, we on my team, these girls, we're chucking. We throw it up. We put up threes. We are just shooting. These girls can play.
Now, why do you think a lot of other coaches don't have that same mindset when it comes to coaching?
So for me, this is just my thoughts, my personal thoughts. I think a lot of people, and even bigger than basketball, just in life, are stuck in their ways. So a lot of people grew up in an era. So maybe they grew up in the 80s with basketball like that. Maybe they grew up in the 90s where the 3-point wasn't. So they get stuck in a way, and they're not adept to change. And because they feel like, I don't even think it's a selfish thinking that their way is the best, but I just think it's more so this is how they've done it their whole lives. So they feel like this is how success is supposed to be. So for me, I don't want to get caught up in that. I want to adapt to every era that we're in. So I never want to be the coach that says, oh, don't dribble the ball 1,000 times, do stuff. Like, I understand isolation, stuff like that. I understand like where this game is at. And I feel like, to answer your question, I feel like a lot of coaches just don't want to adapt to the times. They grew up away. They saw a certain style when they were either playing or when they were watching basketball, and they're just stuck in doing it that way.
It's crazy that you said it, because I remember being in JUCO, and one of the coaches had sat us down, the whole team, and we was literally watching. I think it was like the 84-85 Celtics when Larry Bird was playing, and they was talking about how they was moving the ball, passing the ball 20 times. And one thing it really dawned on me, like the last person I talked to about this, they were like, why is it that coaches do that? Because and then when you think about it, now you're having a whole bunch of players with a whole passive mindset. Not one person on your team is in attack mode. So then when they leave that program, they're still going to have that same passive mindset, because the same coach that implemented that from the start by watching those types of videos, then when they go to college, they're watching people that they're on the bench watching people that's hungry going after. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, you hit the nail right on the head with that. That's it. Like, you explained it perfectly. It's like if I could make it, like, what kind of example can I use? So it's like, if just say a different sport. So say football. Say we were playing football, and say that your whole life you've been practicing to like throw. You've just been working on your arm, just throwing. You're just out there with your friends, just practicing, throwing. And then me as a coach, when you come on the football field, I say you can't throw the ball. Don't ever throw the ball. That's like, it doesn't make sense. When you think about it like that, it just doesn't make sense. Like, who are we to say, like, you work on your game and you are trying to get better? So who am I to hold you back from doing that? That makes it, aren't I supposed to be the one that lets you flourish and showcase what you're trying to do? Like that's how, and I think another thing that now that I thought about it, I think wins and victories and stuff like that, being successful, isn't a lot of their mindset, because whether they're in a paying job or whether it's just looking good in front of the parents or whatever the case may be, the coaches want to be successful. So maybe if kids are trying out new things or trying to whatever, and they're in the development stages, it might be more beneficial for you to be like you just said, dribble, pass, pass, instead of letting them showcase what they can do. But in my mind, I was kind of like that in the beginning about winning. But as you get like seasoned in sports and stuff like that, you understand that, because 3 years ago, 2 years, people don't even know what I won champions. Like, they don't care about none of that stuff no more. So I start to realize that, and I'm starting to be like, I'll take a loss over. I mean, I'll take developing a player over a loss. So I'll take that L, and whatever pressure comes with the L, whatever negativity, backlash, put it on me. But as long as I can see that player getting better and stuff like that, I'll take that.
And the last question I want to have when you ask you on this subject is, even let's go, you're from Jersey, right? So say if a Jersey player goes to Maine, right? I've seen it happen multiple times when players go to other schools and the game changes. You see, you know them, you grew up doing the whole life, they're scorers, attack mode. Then all of a sudden you see them in college and they just passing all day, like, what are you doing? So my question I want to ask you is, how important is it for a player to stay true to themselves and stay true to who they are as a overall player?
I think it's very important. Like, for me, it's because now when you go to college, what I'm starting to learn, because now that I'm in contact with so many college coaches and stuff like that, because they recruit the kids that I coach, that it's so tough, because college is like a system. So college is literally it's your livelihood as a coach. That's how you're getting your money. That's how you're living. The school is every time you step on the court, you're representing the school. And then the president, the dean, all this stuff, the NCAA, the money, like, all this stuff is in the back of their mind. So when they recruit kids, I see it all the time. Like, a kid could be some way in high school and then go to a college and then turn into a totally different player, where you be like he or she can't do anything. So because it's tough when you're getting recruited by only one or two colleges or whatever the case may be. But if you're getting recruited by multiple colleges and you really have a choice to where you want to go and stuff like that, I really think it's very, very keen and very, very important that, like you said, you stay true to yourself and you find a place where they're gonna recruit you for you. So recruit you for what they saw and recruit you to be what they saw.
Mm.
And that's where I would not want to, as a player, if I was getting recruited, to be like, I'm dropping 30 and I'm able to come off screens, I'm able to shoot this, and then I go to a college and they're telling me just play defense. We're in the, like, I know it sucks because that happens sometimes, and it's like you really have no choice. But like I said, if you have a choice and you have opportunity to go to multiple places and you could choose from, I would definitely say go somewhere where you can be true to yourself.
Got you. Now, how important is it if for a player to even have a mentor like yourself in their life? Because I know me when I was playing, I had a mentor, and I could literally call him about anything, and he would give me an answer because he's been there already. And I know a lot of players really don't have that opportunity to have a mentor, or even somebody they can look up to, because let's be real, in the basketball world, really everybody's about themselves. They don't really feel like helping anybody else unless they're getting something beneficial from that relationship. So, fortunately enough, I had somebody that really didn't. It was just a genuine connection, and he was there for me whenever I needed him. So, when players today, how important do you think it is to have a mentor, really, just so they can call and just ask any type of question to?
Yeah, I think that's huge. Like I always say that I always say this. I want to be the person that I wish I had growing up to these kids. So I
Mm,
want to be the person to these kids that I wish that I had growing up. Like I feel like if I had somebody like myself to guide me like that, not to say I would be at a better spot, but I feel like there would have been more opportunities for me that growing up and stuff like that.
mm,
But I really feel like, yeah, like having a mentor, like you, like especially like you said, like nowadays with all this craziness, everything going on, you need people in your life that are gonna look out for you, that are looking out for your best interest. And it sucks to say, but a lot of people, like you said, they don't. They're
mm,
only like, as human beings, we're selfish already. We're selfish. We want, because we're thinking about ourselves. How are we gonna survive? How are we gonna do this? But we need people who can get over that selfishness and understand that there's not only you out here, there's other people, and you, like a little thing, as like even something like this is small. Maybe one person may hear something we say on this and it might benefit them for the rest of their lives. Like who knows,
mm,
stuff like that. So I always think of mentorship like that. Like not only what I say, but do it by actions. Because I notice that kids will hear what you say, but they see your actions more. Like they see, they can pick out a hypocrite quickly. So
mm.
if you're gonna talk the talk, you got to be able to walk the walk. So that's what I try to do. I try to carry myself, not only say what I want to be or say what I want from them, but carry myself and showcase the way I want them to be. And that's what I feel like mentorship is.
Definitely. And the last question I have for you is, how important is it for kids to actually stay ready for whatever moment may come? Because I'm gonna just tell quickly my story. Basically, my junior year, I started the game. Excuse me. I sat the bench 7 straight games. Came off the bench, right? So then, makes long story short, the senior point guard body slams a kid in practice, right? Random as hell. So then I start. So mind you, every day, I want to say like 2 weeks before that happened, we played the game. I think it was Thanksgiving break. I told my roommate, I was like, bro, I don't even want to do this no more. Like, I just want to go home and never come back. Like, I was really at that point, like, mentally. But I stuck through it, kept shooting at 5 a.m. every day. Basically, that happened. So the next game I started, had 15. The game after that, I had 35. So ever
Mm.
since then, I just took off, right? But my thing is, just like I have my slogan is forever be ready, because you never know when your opportunity is going to come. Because there's times when people, like, opportunities like that happen, but they're tapped out mentally. So when that opportunity comes, you step up to the plate, you just choke and you fumble it. So they go on to the next person. So how important would you say is staying ready for whatever moment may come is important to implement to your players?
Yeah, no, that's one of the hardest thing I feel like in life is believing in something that you can't see yet, like
Mm,
believing in that. So, like you said, you never want to be at that point where an opportunity comes and you're not ready. So
mm,
like, and the thing is, you never know, like you just said, you never know when that opportunity can come. You don't never know when it's going to come, never know. So, and you honestly might have an opportunity and you might not even know it's an opportunity
mm,
while it's there until like a day later, 2 days later, you get a call or you hear this or something like this. So I feel like, so what I try to preach to them is always do your best every day, every second, every minute, every hour to be the best version of yourself. and just that's all you can control. There's a lot of variables, there's a lot of things in life that we cannot control, but what you can control is being the best you. So
Mm,
if you just get with that mentality, just being the best version of yourself in every second that you can, I feel like you'll never let an opportunity pass you by because you're always going to do your best. So
mm,
whether you see it now or see it later, or it doesn't come out to something, as long as you're able, I always want to look back, and even though this is 100% impossible, but just live with no regrets and
mm,
have no regrets and say woulda, coulda, shoulda.
mm.
So as long as you have that mentality, and that's what I preach to them, is no regrets. Just always give your best effort every time you step on this court, every time you walk into a building, every time you go to school, every time, just be the best version of yourself. I feel like everything will work out and there will never be an opportunity lost.
And I'm glad you said it because, like I said, even with my story within itself, it was to a point where I had no idea that was going to happen, and then who knows, all that work that I was putting in before that had just carried over, and then I just stepped into the moment. So for people that's listening, you just never know when your opportunity will come. Like, it could be tomorrow, it could be 3 weeks from now, but as long as you stay ready and stay true to yourself, you'll never fail that moment when it comes.
Yep. That's it. That's it. 100%.
And I appreciate you coming on the show, my man, chopping it up with me. Because like I said, I reached out to you through LinkedIn. And I appreciate you even just giving this insight and advice, because a lot of kids need this and they need this information. But like I said, when you're in this basketball community, you're not going to get this information from people just randomly, because, like you said, everybody's out for themselves to a certain point until you run into certain individuals like yourself where they're able to share and they're willing to share information.
Yeah, not so you hit it right. Like that's exactly it. And then when like you find people like yourself, like when you connect with like-minded individuals like that, yeah, you can't take stuff like that for granted. So I enjoyed it. I'll do this whenever you hit me up anytime. I'll do it. Like you got to stay connected with people like this, because like you said, we need more people that are just able to look bigger than things and look past things and understand that their voice, their message, whatever the case may be, can help inspire others.
Nah, definitely, my man. And so before I let you go, I asked all of the people that I bring on the show, what is a typical day like for you from like start to finish? And are there any special routines that you go through?
So okay, so like a typical day, so I will wake up, I'll meditate
Mm,
for 10 minutes.
mm-hmm.
I usually have a book, some type of book. Right now I'm reading The Power of Positivity.
Okay.
So I'll read some type of book for at least a half hour. For a
Mm-hmm.
half hour I'll read. I'll stretch. I'll do like a morning like stretching a routine to stretch. Work. I always try to incorporate some type of basketball. So whether I'm watching a game, whether I'm watching coaches, just something that just continue to help my basketball knowledge, I'll throw that in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I have YouTube, so I work on my YouTube channel somehow. Either I'm making a video, editing, watching other channels, supporting other channels that support me, or just doing some type of YouTube related activity. And then if I have basketball the other day, I'll coach. If I don't have basketball that day, if I have a game, I'll coach a game. And then that's pretty much it. I'm not a big TV person. I don't watch. The only thing I watch is I'm pretty much just YouTube or basketball. I'm watching like a basketball game. I'm not really like big into, or I'll watch a movie here and there, but that's mostly for the weekends. But yeah, that's like a typical day. And then by the time I look up after that day, it is 10 o'clock and I feel like it's like 1 a.m. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
10 o'clock and I'm just done. My day is over and I feel like it's accomplished and everything.
Definitely, definitely. And one last question I have for you, I ask all the guests, what is something that you're most grateful for?
So I'm more. It sounds funny, but I'm grateful for just like every opportunity I have to open my eyes is just be here. Like I don't take that for granted. Like there's just a lot, especially with all this going on. There's just a lot of people. I have a lot of friends, stuff like that. I lost. There's just a lot of people who aren't able to like be living during these times, and I don't want to take that for granted. I feel like I'm here for a reason, so I
Mm-hmm.
want to make the most out of that each and every day. So every time I get to wake up, every time, even if it's, because we're going to go through bad, we're going to go through negativity, all that stuff, but even through all that stuff, I still look at it as it's another opportunity for me to be here. And if I get through that, and when I do get through all that stuff, I'm still here standing, I'm still here breathing. So it's a reason. And there's like every day it's just strengthening me that it's just nothing that can stop me from becoming what I'm supposed to become.
Definitely. That's awesome, my man. And for people that have any questions for you, would you mind just giving out your contact information when they can get in contact with you?
Yeah, so you can hit me up. My email is coachkev04@yahoo.com. Instagram is probably where I'm on the most. Instagram and Twitter, but they're the same thing. It's coach _Kev B. Sorry, coach _ Kev B
Okay.
on Instagram and Twitter. And then my YouTube channel is, you can just type in Purpose Driven / Coach Kev and you'll see it. I have tons of videos just on there, just doing like
Got
that.
you. And like I said, I appreciate you chopping it up with me, my man. And we had great, just having this, like I said, these intellectual conversations, especially just about something we're both passionate about and
Yep.
both like-minded individuals, is something that I personally don't take for granted because, like I said, you don't really run into people like this all the time that's willingly wanting to give information to people. So, like I said, I appreciate you coming on the show as well.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun, definitely fun, good times.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Q's Health and Wellness Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe or to leave us a review on iTunes or the listening platform of your choice. Also, please check us out at QuinnMitchellII.com, as well as find us on Instagram for more useful content and resources.